Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I am your host, Frankie Corcoran, saying that for the 250th time because this is our 250th episode. Before we start, I just want to provide a quick little disclaimer. You guys might look at the episode length and think, holy crap, this is a long one. You're kind of intimidated by it. The first hour is an interview with Bob LeMent of Static Radio. And the second half of the episode is a throwback to episode 4 with RBC Olympian Brett Himmelman. This was from February 2022, just so we can kind of compare how the show has evolved since we started. So I normally do this with the big milestone episodes. I just want to say thank you guys for continuing to listen as always. It's always very, very much appreciated. And it's hard to a picture where the show would be without such good support and all that stuff. And it's crazy, that we're going into 2026 and we're still going. So thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you to the amazing guests we've had. Thank you to some of our partners and sponsors for helping keep the show going. And just thank you to everybody really for all the support, whether it's, as I said, through sponsorships or it's through guests, whatever the case may be, it's always very much appreciated. So I'm going to stop thanking now because I'm just going in circles here, but thank you, seriously. So as I mentioned off the top, our guest today is Bob LeMent of Static Radio, and who he's been hosting that alongside Miles Tidal since 1998. And he's a regular on the podcast now, too. This is his, 4th or 5th appearance on here, I think. So, great conversation with him, as always. I want to put the link in the episode description to staticradio.com. Check out all of the stuff that Bob does. And later in the show, of course, as I mentioned, a throwback to episode 4 from 2022 with Brett Himmelman. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for making us a part of your day. If you like the episode, give us a nice review, rating, follow it, whatever the case may be, and share it around and tell your friends. So without further ado, guys, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast today. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran, coming at you with our 250th episode. I have a very special guest. He's a regular on the show, but for me, it's episode 250, but he's done, 1,700 of these things. He's been going for a long time. Static Radio has been going on since 1998, if I'm not mistaken, and always a blast to have him on here. Bob LeMent. Bob, what's going on?
Hey, thanks, Frankie. Fantastic to be here. I want to commend you on your background. I don't think you had this background last time I was on, so it looks really good.
Yeah, I actually this is, I switched offices. So instead of being in my bedroom, I've moved. We are now currently in my grandmother's old house, which is empty. So we are using the basement for our studio.
Wow.
And there's tenants upstairs, but they're not home right now, so it all kind of works out. So it turned it into a kind of a decent looking studio. I said it doesn't have to be too fancy because the podcast is mainly audio only anyway. So I mean, no sense in going too crazy. But much like yourself, you're appearing on so many podcasts that are video. And I've also started guesting on some podcasts that are video as well too. So I'm like, might as well look somewhat professional, because I think how you and I have done the episodes before is I'm like, because it's audio only, I'm just gonna, just turn my camera off or whatever the case may be. But now I'm like, let's make it look kind of professional. But you've kind of kept your same animated logo or not logo, animated character, which is really, really cool. When did you first create that animated character, that icon of yours?
So the blue cat. So if you're listening, I'm a blue cat to Frankie, and So I think it was around 2018. So oddly enough, early on in the show, somebody had written in who was listening and said, "Oh, wouldn't it be fun if this was a cartoon?" And so that stuck in my head. I never really thought about it until that person brought it up. And then so over the years, as technology changed and everything, I always kind of had that in the back of my mind. What could I make it a cartoon? And it took a long time to do because I mean, I'm not, an illustrator or a cartoonist. I don't have any artistic abilities in that realm. And so, but finally I hit upon something that I thought, oh, I can make this happen. And so in 2018, I animated the show for probably a good, I want to say 4 or 5 months. So I animated both of us. So I have a co-host named Miles, and the issue though is Miles is very non-technology oriented, and so and he lives away from me. He lives in another state, and so we have been doing the show, audio show, and so forth. And I'm like, I want to do this cartoon version of it. And so I invented our two characters. I'm a blue cat. He is a snowman. Uh, and so then what I did was we'll get a little technical, I suppose, but everybody likes that, don't they? You like to hear
Oh my God, yes. Well, we love hearing the creative side of things too. I'm like, it's not just about, for me anyway, when it comes to talking about entertainment, I'm always about the creative process behind it, because we always see the finished effect or the finished product, that we don't take the time to really appreciate what goes into the behind the scenes of it, like we're talking about the technical aspect. And it's harder when, like you said, you have a co-host who isn't as tech savvy as you are.
Right. Or at all.
Or at all.
So yeah, so then basically I had to figure out how to split our audio. So to put his audio on a separate track, so from my audio, which until that point I just blended everything because it all went out together. I didn't worry about it too much. And so I figured that out. And so then I could take that audio track, those two separate audio tracks, and create the characters with synced mouth movements. And so, yeah, so for probably about 4 months, back in 2018 or 2017, somewhere in that neighborhood, it's a fully animated characters doing the show, right? Not fully in the sense we didn't run around or anything, no change of setting, but at least from the talking part and moving the head and so forth, we had movements and whatnot, like I am today. And so yeah, I did that for a while, but it was really time consuming because I had to do it all post. So everything was post. So I recorded our voices. I went in, I set everything up, and then you have to render everything, which people don't. I mean, rendering is becoming not a word that people use too often anymore because we've got so much better computing power and so forth. And so I had to render everything, which literally could take all night. And so just to render out these mouth movements and head movements and so forth could take, I'd start it when I went to bed at like 10 o'clock or something. And then when I got up in the morning, I'd check it and it would either be done or it would have failed. And so then because I have, I use my computer for other stuff as well. So then I had to set it up again that night and render. And so I did that for a while, but it got to be so cumbersome to do that that we stopped. I went on vacation at one point. I said, I'm going on vacation. And when I came back from vacation, I'm like, I can't, it just got so cumbersome just for me to do it. And then the renders would fail and you'd have to start over again. And then that's another day. You don't release anything. And so I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to do that. So then a couple of years pass by, we have COVID happens, and there's a big upswing in the guesting of shows, right? Podmatch, I think it was kind of one of the catalysts for that. I know you mentioned that on your show. So then I'm like, okay, I think I want to do some guesting, more guesting. I've done it in the past, but not with any kind of, determination, I guess we'll say. And so they had these platforms come out, and so I put myself on the platforms. And I'm like, well, I think it'd be kind of fun if I was my cartoon character because it's different, right? And I resurrected the cartoon character because I can actually do it in real time. So you're seeing a real time manipulation, where if I could get Miles to do real time, then we would be animated all today. But I mean, the chances of that are slim to none. I mean, I just can't. I can barely get him on line sometimes to talk to him. So this is not going to happen. You would, I mean, you'd be surprised. I don't. It's just that he doesn't have an interest, right? So his interests are much different, which I think helps with what we create, right? Because we're not the same type of person. We're totally different in our, backgrounds and interests, and so that's what makes our conversations, I think, more interesting, because we're not coming from the same spot and we don't think about things in the same way. And so that's where all this kind of comes together, where, him not being interested in technology kind of kills the whole aspect of being animated all the time. But on the other hand, it would, if it was the same, it would be a lot less. I would go, yeah, wouldn't this be cool? Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do, there'd be no clashing and no conflict at all, which, as for stories, you got to have some small amount of conflict in there in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be violent or anything, but there has to be something in there to mix things up. And I think that's what we have. So he's always complaining about that I think about the technology too much, and he doesn't want to think about it at all. So, it's weird, but that's kind of the quick story of the cartoon. But if you're watching it on video, you get to see the result. The other thing was the aesthetic of this. So I know since I've been doing this, there's been a lot more avatars and things that are fairly, quick and easy for people to do, even in Zoom, right? You could turn on an avatar if you wanted to right now in your Zoom. And but I like the 2D effect that I get with this version of myself. It's a very flat, very cartoony 2D kind of a situation that has a certain aesthetic. It's got a certain what do we say, je ne sais quoi, as they would say. And
je ne sais quoi.
That I think is more interesting than some of the stuff that is kind of out there right now. It's mostly 3D kind of things, a lot of it, or it's stuck to your face, right? You get the little add-ons where you can put ears on and all this kind of stuff, which track your movements and so forth, which is essentially what this is doing. It's just it's covering everything, right? So there's not like attachments to me or what have you. So
But it's I love how when you were talking about Podmatch, which is actually where you and I first got connected, which is an amazing platform. We even put a little advertisement for them at the start of mostly every show, because Podmatch has become such a good platform for helping podcasters grow, not just in connecting people, but it also has the affiliate programming where you're able to earn commission and everything like that. So it makes podcasters who were just doing it to be it's just for fun to hey, this could turn it into something, you know what I mean? But it's so funny, your Podmatch profile was very much like you say, you just used your cartoon. I said, I kind of pictured it's like one of those dating apps where you're like, wow, this girl is really, really attractive. Wow, she's a really, really good looking girl. And then it turns out it's not even a girl. It's just some guy who was just trying to mess with people. You know what I mean?
Are you saying I'm trying to mess with people? Oh my goodness.
And then Bob turns on his camera and he's just like, I'm actually just a little kid. Like he's just like a toddler. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And some
people at least I look exactly like my profile picture.
Yes, you do.
Did you say?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I think that's true. I mean, it's I still haven't seen his real face. As far as I know, this could be his real face.
Well, all likelihood, maybe not. I mean, I could go out in public with this over my face. Sure, I could do that. Or I could get a head, right? I could get one of those sports mascot heads and put it on, maybe.
For Halloween next year. I'm going as Bob LeMent for Halloween next year.
Be like sports mascot. No, the funny thing is I mean, you're obviously fine with it because we've talked several times and so forth. But you would think that everybody would want to talk to a cartoon, but that's not always been the case. I've been and the fun to me, I always find it funny because there's no. You spoke to kind of false advertising a little bit there. There's no false advertising. I put this on. I have clips. I have links to other shows and everything, and then I'll show up as a guest on somebody's show, and they're like, "Are you going to be the cartoon the whole time?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to be." And they go,
"Do you have a problem with that? That's what I look like."
I'm like, literally everything online associated with me looks like this. Or it's just a voice. And so, yeah. And they're like, oh, no, we can't do that. I'm like, okay. And then they kill it. So we never do the interview. I've even had interviews that I've actually completed. I completed one where, they had me on to tell a story. I told the story. They said, let's do another story. I said, okay, we'll do another story. And so I did 2 of them. And then a couple of days later, they wrote me back and said, oh, we're not going to use any of that. We can't do that with the cat. I'm like, I will literally the cat for 2 whole things, 2 whole interviews.
What are you trying to say?
Today, you're like, oh, we can't do that. I was like, really? Okay, well, I'm like, that's fine with me. If you decide to use it later, go ahead, whatever. But I was kind of floored by that because it's like, it literally went so well that you wanted to do something else. And yet now all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I can't do that. So anyway, I haven't had a lot of those, but I've had enough to where it's been interesting, to think about it. And one of them I was on with the host of the show, because a lot of these shows now, I mean, they're like productions, right? So they have multiple people and so forth. So I was on with the host ahead of everything because I usually try to be a little bit early. And we were chatting and having a great conversation. And then the producer person finally shows, or, they had gotten ready, but they'd walked away or something. They come back to find me there and they're like, oh, we're not doing this. And then they cancel it after I was already...
That's like showing up, like I was talking about the dating apps. You're like, okay, I'm going to go on a date with this woman, show up, and it's a dude who's just messing with you. And you're just, okay, I'm done, Like
that was what I felt like. Exactly. I'm like, but I was getting along so well with the host. I'm like, well, that's too bad. I was really enjoying talking to you. So, and it runs the gamut. So, I mean, it is kind of a weird, thing. It's almost at this point I've kind of dug into the point where it's like an experiment. I just want to see how far it will go. And I'm like, well, let's see if it's anybody else. But yeah, the funny thing to me is always that nobody does a lot of background. I mean, you literally, if you were to Google my name, you will see this avatar all over the place. It's
even if you go on staticradio.com, I think if you go on the website, it's on there, which the link is in our show notes for those of you guys to go take a look here. If you're wondering what this cat is that we're talking about, click the link and you'll find out what it is. But it almost kind of reminds me of, I love that old classic episode of Family Guy. It was Joe's first episode, and Peter's like, we need somebody for our company is having this big baseball tournament, and we need someone who's a good pitcher. And he meets Joe because Joe moves in next door, and he doesn't know that he's in a wheelchair. He's just talking to him, sitting down, and he just doesn't think much of it. He's like blocked by a table or whatever, and then shows up, and he's just like, okay, Joe, all right, game's over. Now get up. Come on. Like, we got to start this show. And he's like, oh, Peter, you're funny. That's kind of like you showing up to an interview, and they're like, okay, Bob, all right, Joe, it's funny. It's funny now. Now show me your real face. And you're like, no,
this is it. This is me. At this point, this is me. So yeah, for all these kind of things, but I think it works out. I mean, we can get into talking about entertainment and so forth. You can get into the fact that, Frankie Corcoran going to the grocery store is not the Frankie Corcoran that I have sitting here with me talking right now, probably, right?
I'm a red dog. I That's my new avatar. I got to create one.
But we all, whenever you're doing things like this, you create a persona that is just slightly, I mean, it has a lot of elements of yourself, but it's not totally yourself, right? So because you have to emote, and you have to draw people in and so forth. And whenever you're going to the grocery store, getting your groceries, you're not walking around going, "Oh my gosh, this is great. I mean, everything is so fantastic. How are you today? What are you getting some refried beans? That's fantastic." You're not doing that at the grocery store. You're just like, "I got to get my stuff. I got to get out of here. Well, I got like a 3 o'clock appointment I got to get to," and so we create characters. And so, this is kind of the extension of my character, as it were. And I think that is an interesting, in this day and age, it's more interesting, and especially when you look at it in light of, past creations and so forth. So it's hard to become a timeless character, right? So I become timeless because my visage, right, doesn't change. Even though, like you said, we talked last March, we talked before that. It's been years now. And so, yeah. So, even though, I'm getting old and gray and wrinkled and everything.
And blue.
But yeah, blue, it doesn't change. I get to be, I'm like Oscar the Grouch or Big Bird or Bert and Ernie or something, They're the same forever. So
That's the same
the idea
deal
behind it.
if you have an actor who is so people just see him as or see them as that one part. Like, for example, around here in Canada, Trailer Park Boys is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see the actors going around in real life and they're like, "Oh, do the Bubbles voice or do the Ricky voice or be Ricky." And they start talking to them. And it gets to the point where it's like, okay, they're actually they're like people, there's some projects that they will do that people will say, "I like this, but it's not like Trailer Park Boys, so I didn't like it." Or like they trash it because it's not Trailer Park Boys. It's like, well, it's because they're real actors who are just doing different projects. It's kind of similar to like who's an actor like seeing Steve Carell in anything but The Office. You're like, "No, go back to The Office. Like, this isn't Michael Scott." Like, it's like, no. This is just what he's like. This is a completely, it has nothing to do with The Office. It has nothing to do with Trailer Park Boys or anything like that. It's just you're so used to seeing people in those roles that when they're in a different role, you're like, "I don't like this." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah, I know. People get so pigeonholed or typecast. The actors do, yeah, especially if you're in like an iconic kind of thing like those. It's so easy. But the funny thing is, though, this is an interesting topic. The funny thing is, though, that some people use that to their advantage. So, for instance, let's take Harrison Ford as an actor, right? I don't know where you're at on the Harrison Ford acting prowess scale.
I like
here,
Harrison Ford.
But Harrison Ford, well, you're good. But Harrison Ford kind of plays the same kind of character in most of his stuff, right? There's not a huge jump between Indiana Jones and Han Solo, or Jack Ryan for that matter. And so the funny thing is he's kind of typecast as himself because he has a certain type of character that when he plays that character, everybody likes it, even though the name changes, the situation changes, and so forth. But he kind of plays the same role in most of these movies, right? So he's, in a way, he's kind of typecast, but he's not typecast as a character. He's typecast as Harrison Ford. And so it's interesting like that. Same with George Clooney, right? George Clooney is not going to play, he's not going to take a Jim Carrey role where he's over the top goofy. You know what I mean? He always plays kind of a suave, in control kind of character. And that's George Clooney, right? And so they've basically taken what a lot of people, get typecast for, but made it, they're that type of character rather than they're that character only. They're just a type of character that everybody likes to see in those movies and so forth. So I think that's kind of interesting. It's really hard. I mean, you're much more into acting and so forth than I am, but it's really hard to look at an actor and think about them, naming them who can, one that can do, or an actress that can do multiple different things like that, can be run the gamut, right? They can play any character and be believable, and people will buy them in that character. I mean, to me, it's really difficult in my mind, at least. Maybe you have some in your head. You can say, okay, they've played sophisticated, they've played, down home or whatever. They played whatever these characters are. They played all these different characters, and it was all believable. I mean, it's really tough to do that, I think, as an actor, just because people, once you have something that's popular, then people just want to see that same popular character again, or that same popular, the way you acted that way again and again and again. They went the McDonald's of acting as opposed to the independent restaurants.
No, well, that's kind of similar. I don't know if you've seen the new Vince Gilligan series, Pluribus,
Yes, Pluribus,
which
yeah.
I really, really like it so far. And I mean, like it like, I'm not willing to go to the degree that some people say, where there was a few people saying that, oh my God, the first episode was like the best episode of TV. To me, I'm like, no, I don't think it was the best episode of TV, nor was it the best premiere. It was an excellent episode, just wasn't as good as some people were making it out to be. But then I saw some reviewers and well established news sites and media, entertainment news and everything, that were doing coverage on it, and they would not stop comparing it to Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Well, at this point in Breaking Bad, we had gotten this, and at this point in Better Call Saul, we gotten this. It's like Pluribus is its own thing. I think it's because people have such expectations for Vince Gilligan and his work now because of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and that they're constantly comparing it. And I'm like, these two shows aren't even comparable. The only thing's comparable is that it's Ray Seahorn is a star in it.
Right.
Vince Gilligan created it, and it's also set in Albuquerque. Those are the only two.
Right.
Those are the only three similarities to it, and it's also just a completely different genre. It's sci-fi instead of crime. It's just, some people, they just have certain, and I'm like, I think if people could just shut their brain off and really just look at it as, this is, just pretend Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul doesn't exist. Is this a good show? That's what I try to encourage people to do, because I cannot stand seeing the reviews saying, well, Breaking Bad, we got to here by this point, and Better Call Saul, we were here at this point. Is it a slower start? Yeah, it's a slower start. It's a first season, because hell, you go back and look at Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, they were slower in their first seasons. It's just, we look back on it now after seeing both those shows and like, oh my God, seeing how it all ended up. But I just think it's one of those shows that you got to give it time. It's not going to be what Breaking Bad was. It might not ever be. It might not ever be as popular or as beloved as Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul.
Right.
But you got to give it a chance. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on Pluribus so far?
Oh no, I've enjoyed it, but I do love it. Is definitely a show that makes you think. It makes you question what's going on. It makes you wonder, project into the future a little bit. Sometimes, I think a lot of TV kind of washes over you. You just observe it, and it kind of just happens to you, and you're just kind of there, and you're everything's in the now, right? There's no ambiguity. There's no mystery to it. And it just happens, and you're witnessing it, right? Like kind of, documentary like in some regards. But this one, it's just like, what is going on? I wonder, what about this, and this? And then it'll answer some of those things. It's a very slow moving show so far, but not slow to watch, which is interesting. So as far as like, moving getting the answers that you want as the viewer sitting there is very slow. I won't say I shouldn't say it's a slow show. I think it's not giving you the answers you want as you're watching it, right? So most TV shows, it's kind of like, they set them up and knock them down. So they set up a question and then they give you an answer. They set up a question, give you an answer. This set up a bunch of questions and is not giving you a lot of answers yet. And so, it's quite interesting to watch it because it's very much a thinking show. It wants you to think. It wants you to extrapolate. It wants you to have your own flights of fancy, where procedurals and things like that. It's like tick, 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 tick. Here's this. We have this. Even if it's a mystery, we have a mystery. We'll solve it at the end of the hour. Don't worry about it. And everything kind of happens with a metered measure to it. But yeah, this is nebulous, right? It's weird. It's not following the normal rules, and I think that's what I like about it. And I think some people probably will not like it because of that. It's hard, talking to typecasting and so forth. It's a little difficult having watched Better Call Saul and seeing Rhea Seehorn in this new role, and it's different. But is it different enough? I don't know yet. I mean, it is different. Obviously, it's a totally different character. Is she playing it, so differently? I don't know yet, because she's supposed to be fairly much a regular type person in this situation. And in Better Call Saul, she was kind of a regular type person in that situation. So, it wasn't like that there was, all this, heavy layers of things that go with this character at this point. She was a successful author, and she was in love with her, I guess, publicist. I don't know what you'd call it. The person that arranged her life a little bit as for her profession. And, she dies and things happen that are weird. I don't know how much you want to give away for the show, but it's a very weird show. The world changes. Speaking of that, though, this is a little bit of a tangent here. I was just, because you and I, we don't do any kind of prep on what we're going to talk about. It's all very free flowing, right? So
yep.
I did a little prep in my own mind. I'm like, oh, I wonder what we're going to talk about today, or what's in my head, And what I thought about was the change since COVID. I think that there's been, and this kind of parallels Pluribus, not in an exact way, in any way, shape, or form, but just the fact that there's been a big change, I think, in how people act and react in the world before COVID and after COVID. And I was just thinking about that before we got on to talk. I'm like, yeah, to me, there seems to be, and maybe not to you because you're a younger person, but there seems to be a fairly definitive change during that time. So, we had everybody's going about their business, and then everything comes to a screeching halt for a good amount of time, right? Everybody's kind of cooped up for months, if not longer, depending on your locations. And then we're back out, but we're not really back out, So everything has changed in the way that people interact a little bit, in the way that you handle business. Obviously, we're on Zoom. The Zoom, I was involved with doing Zoom calls, pre COVID, and I always find it hilarious. It's another one of those weird, kind of things where history happens when it happens. I've been doing involved with Zoom for probably about a good 2 years or more. Had an account and was doing things and whatnot. And then COVID happens, and everybody's like, "Hey, you ever hear about Zoom, Bob? It's this great thing," And then of course everybody gets brought into the fold, so to speak, and it's like the world has changed because of it. But I think that there is a definite way that we work now, that we interact as a society now differently than we did before COVID. I can't put my thumb on it. I was just gonna see what your thoughts were on that.
Well, one of the things I love about Pluribus right now is, yes, it's sci-fi. So, with the whole hive mind, idea of everybody is
Mhm.
infected with this disease or whatever you want to call it that just makes everyone happy, and Carol and 11 others are the only ones who are immune to it. But the
Mhm.
thing that really stood out to me as being very relatable or realistic was, especially talking about COVID, is that we don't realize what we have until it's gone. Like
Mhm.
we see a flashback in episode 3 or 4, one of the two episodes, where we see Carol and Helen, and they're going to that ice hotel or whatever you call it.
Oh right, yeah. Mhm.
And Helen's just like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And Carol is just so negative and just like, yeah, yeah, like this isn't fun and this isn't that. And then even when she is on her book tour and she has hundreds of fans who are coming to her and, oh, Carol, 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 and she's still miserable.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things that now, of course, the world has gone to shit. It kind of makes you think like, okay, we always tend to do that in life. We always tend to complain about all sorts of different things that don't even seem like that big of a deal. Like, oh my God, I can't stand this person, or I don't want to have to go into work and see this. But just imagine one day, which we can all relate to, this all happened to us. Imagine having all of that stuff, and then boom, one day it's gone. COVID
Mhm.
happens. You have to isolate. You have to go into your house. You can't see anybody. You can't do any of the activities that brought you joy and that made you keep your sanity. Um, so it's one of those shows that really makes you relate to that in all the ways of like not sweating the small stuff. We talked about that, I think, on the last episode, which is just
Oh yeah.
not anything in life that might seem like a nuisance to you. Once it's gone, you're kind of like, oh damn, I missed that.
Right.
Granted,
That's right.
we do have
Where's
things
that
in
at?
life that it'd be like every year doing your taxes. I think that's one thing that people can just look at that and just go,
Right.
nah, yeah, I can just go the rest of my life not doing that again. Just get somebody else to
Yeah,
do
no
it.
kidding.
But Pluribus perfectly captures, like, Carol being a best-selling author, and she's still not happy. She says my books are shit and this and that. Meanwhile, she has hundreds of fans and she's making all kinds of money off
Mhm.
writing these books. And why are you still not happy? Even you're visiting an ice hotel, which to me, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cold. I mean, like it's like -8 here today, but
Oh, great.
but but it's one of those things of like, Carol, why can't you just be happy? Why can't you just stop and smell the roses? It's just
Mhm.
that right there to me is so relatable in a show that's not a realistic type setting, like having like a hive
Mhm.
mind type of outbreak throughout the world where only 11 people are immune, and everybody else who's infected, you hear the word infected and you assume it's like a zombie
Right.
apocalypse type deal, but no, it's just an infection where everybody is just happy.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
so
like the
that's,
opposite of a zombie thing where, yeah,
yeah,
everybody is,
exactly. You just have
is,
people walking around and they're just like,
yeah.
hi, Carol, I love your books. I love your
Right.
books. And she's just like, bullshit. Like, okay, answer me this, answer me that.
Mhm.
So that way, no, I'm really, really enjoying it so far. And, it's already gotten renewed for season 2.
It
Actually, I
did.
think they,
Yeah. I
they
saw
renewed it
that.
for season 2 before season 1 even started filming. I think
Yeah.
it was Apple TV just immediately gave them the green light for 2 seasons, which
Yeah.
shows the faith in Vince Gilligan. Obviously, I mean, it's
Right.
the man. It's like it's one of those things. We always wonder, like, if you could be anybody in the world, who would it be? For me, Vince Gilligan, or Vince Gilligan would be one of those people that it's just like doing what that man has done, creating two of the arguably the greatest television shows ever made. Um, writing on the X Files. Now you're
Right.
doing this brand new series, which has already gotten like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better than that. Life doesn't get.
Maybe he's all mad. He's like, who cares if anybody likes my shows?
Maybe that's where he got the inspiration for Ray Seahorn's character. That's could
maybe.
be. You never know.
Who cares?
And that's a sad reality. Some people still like they could have everything, but to them it's I want more. It's like, well, what more do you want? You know, do you still find yourself sometimes, when you stop and really think about it, you're like, what do I have to complain for? I got a great life, you know. Like, do you ever stop and think that? Especially, of course, I mean, there was the house fires, of course, which happened earlier in the year. That was a big thing that we talked about as well too. What's your whole stance on that, especially all these months later?
Oh yeah, the funny thing is, my house burned down in 2019, and they were rebuilding it during COVID, and it almost got, it wasn't rebuilt by the time COVID happened, and there was a real worry that they wouldn't be able to finish the house, and we were going to be homeless again because insurance runs out after a while. So anyway, that was a whole other event that happened. But no, the weird thing about it is, and I think we talked about it last time maybe a little bit, but it was very freeing. I mean, it was horrible when it happened. It was absolutely devastating. But since then, it's been incredibly freeing from the standpoint of my attitude towards possessions changed during that time. So before I had, things that were my possessions, right? So things that I really like, this or whatever, collectible type things and whatnot. And all that was gone. I mean, everything was gone. And so then coming out of it, it's probably one of the best things that have happened is I don't think about that anymore. I don't really care about having things or owning things the way that I used to. Immaterial. The funny thing is, it kind of fueled being guests and so forth, and meeting people like yourself, because I value this way more than I value having anything, owning anything. Right? I don't need to have, some kind of fancy car or, any kind of collectible or, anything that anybody else might think is valuable in some way, shape, or form, tangibly. Doesn't matter. It all went right out of my head, because it literally, within the course of, maybe an hour, I went from having everything to having nothing. And so that really was kind of a wake-up call in a way, right? And so I think now I value these experiences. I value being able to go places, right? Travel a little bit. And I value, my friendships. So people that I'm friends with, have been friends with for years, I think I have a little bit more, place a little more value in that than I did prior. I know that sounds terrible to my friends, right? You're like, you jerk. You mean you didn't value our friendship before?
Yes, exactly.
but I mean, because you have to make we're decision-making machines, and as humans, right? So we're constantly, even though we don't, maybe not aware of it because it happens so often, we're constantly making decisions. We make decisions on resources, decisions on time. We make decisions on what we're going to do here, what we're going to do there. And so, it focused all my decisions in the direction that it was scattered before. And so now it's kind of much more focused than it used to be. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but it really took the value totally out of anything tangible, even though I did get the house, the house got rebuilt, I'm living in it, so forth, but I'm not so tied to it. Another weird thing happened. So my father died a few years ago. My mother died a year ago, Thanksgiving. U.S. Thanksgiving, right? So
1 year anniversary then. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's all right. Well, it's been a year. But anyway, thank you. But the weird thing is, so my parents, you mentioned you were in your grandma's house, right? My parents built a house and lived in it for 50 years, right? and I had to sell that house because I don't live where my parents lived. And so yeah, it was another one of those experiences. It was probably the only time since the fire where a possession really, I struggled with it, because now, I went from, being my happy-go-lucky self, and now I'm inheriting this house. It was me and my brother, but my brother lives further away, and so I kind of became the person to take care of things. And so then, I had to make these decisions, and it's like, this is the house I grew up in. I mean, my parents lived there for 50 years. I literally, all my life was in this house, and I would go to it constantly. And now you have this tough decision, but I did. So, but it's interesting how those things kind of happen. But my parents, in and of themselves, like, that house was everything, right? That was they worked to have this, and they actually built it. And so, it held a extreme importance in their lives. So it really is weird kind of perspective, because now it wasn't that I kind of cast it off and just said, oh yeah, no big deal. But I come in from a totally different mindset. It's an asset, right? It's money in the system. And I felt bad having to sell it, but the realities were there was no reason for me to keep it. I'm not going to live there. I don't even live in that town. I'm not close to that town anymore. I don't want another house. So, you know what I mean? So there's literally no reason to keep it, but it's weird how those two mindsets kind of collided, because I know, my parents, it meant so much to them to have gotten this and built it and been there all over all these years, but now they're gone. And then you have to wrestle with all that as you go through the process, right? You're grieving. You got to deal with, you talk about your taxes. I paid my mom's taxes because she still had to pay taxes even though she passed away. So, that's I don't know that everybody thinks about that on a daily basis until you encounter it, but it's weird. It's just a weird situations you find yourself in reality, because they're totally removed from you until they happen, and then it's kind of a pile on kind of a situation. But it was very stressful in a way, but everything happened eventually, and and so forth. But the realities were that I don't need that. And to be honest with you, I don't even, other than living here, I don't need this house. And I know I've already planned as I get older that I won't be in this house, when I get older. I'm going to go someplace else. I don't know where yet, but I don't want to have the responsibility of it all. When I get to be a certain age, I'm going to divest myself of all these responsibilities of taking care of something and move on to the next thing. So, it's interesting to me, because you mentioned you were at your grandma's house, and so you obviously are close to where your family lives and grew up and so forth. And so it's a different experience for you.
Same driveway. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like you're not there anymore. So it doesn't make any sense to get rid of things, because you're still there.
This episode of the Corcoran Entertainment Show is brought to you by Holy Hydrogen. Okay, guys, let's be real. We all try our best to stay hydrated, right? But not all water is created equal. That's where Holy Hydrogen comes in. They've got this awesome device called the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition, and it takes clean water to the next level by infusing it with molecular energy. That means you're not just drinking water. You're giving your body extra support with every sip. Better energy, less inflammation, and a real boost to your immune system. So try the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition today by going to shop.holyhydrogen.com/Corcoran and use the promo code Corcoran for $100 off your purchase. Again, that's shop.holyhydrogen.com/Corcoran and use the promo code Corcoran at checkout. Stay hydrated and stay healthy. The Corkin Entertainment Show is brought to you by Podmatch, the ultimate platform designed to connect podcast hosts with prospective guests effortlessly. Are you a podcaster looking to elevate your show to new heights? Or perhaps you're a guest hoping to share your story with a broader audience. Whatever your podcasting goals are, we have the perfect solution for you. Podmatch simplifies the entire process of discovering guests for your show or finding podcasts to feature your expertise. Now imagine a platform where you can easily match with like-minded creators tailored specifically to your niche. With Podmatch, you can effortlessly network with influencers and thought leaders, all while staying true to your podcast vision. There are a multitude of ways that Podmatch can help you grow your brand. You can be part of a thriving community of podcasters and potential guests. Engage, collaborate, and grow together. If you're ready to experience these fantastic benefits for yourself, we invite you to join Podmatch today. Head over to www.joinpodmatch.com/Corkin Entertainment and sign up right now for only $6 a month. That's right, you heard me right, $6 a month. Join the Podmatch family today and watch your podcast soar to new altitudes. Thank you for tuning into the Corkin Entertainment Show, and happy podcasting. No, exactly. Like, there's a few different things, that everyone's kind of dealing with first. I mean, we have some people who are living in the upstairs tenants who are up there, and it's one of those things of even just being in certain rooms in the house, as I'm setting all of this up and everything, I'm kind of looking, I'm like, oh yeah, I still remember us doing this at in this room. I still remember us playing checkers in this room. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's really interesting when you look at it. And some people, they don't like to think about that stuff. Some people just want to wipe the slate clean and move on to something else. But for some people, they deal with it differently. Like some people, they wouldn't want to set up their own workstation in that spot. They're like, I'd rather just go somewhere else. And it's a tricky situation, absolutely. And you kind of make the most of what you have. And I've been lucky that I'm still able to have like my own little studio here, really. I mean, like, I call it my studio. It's just in the basement. But it's one of those things of there are some instances when you kind of stop and think about it and reflect on what's gone on in this house and in some of these rooms and everything, and just kind of going like, yeah, like this is life now. You know what I mean? Like all the things that didn't seem important to us then, we kind of think back on it now and go, yeah, those times were pretty good,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's wild though, but I mean, I think it's great. I always wished, I suppose, having to do a lot of reflection here, I always wish that it could be more cohesive and everybody could be, stay in one spot. But unfortunately, the realities of the world get in the way. And even my kids are getting, spread around a little bit and aren't going to be, oh, yeah, we'll just take over our parents' house because they're on to their own adventures in other parts of the country. So it's, it's weird how that happens, but, it just a lot of thought in that, but coming back to Pluribus on that, those kind of shocking things that happen overnight, like in this show, everything kind of happens really quickly. And then you try to, you're living, Carol's, experience of it, and that's really what the show's about, is Carol's experience of what happens when the world totally changes and you totally get knocked off your feet. How the world changes is almost immaterial. It's how do you cope with it, and so this is how she's coping with it, and it's kind of fascinating in that regard if you kind of just take it at that, because literally you could write any show about anything with that premise. How
you really could
be affected. Yeah.
And even if you're still able to relate to it on such a personal level, something that's so far out of the ordinary, like something that's not even like a reality, that or could ever be a reality, you still look at it and go, I can still relate to that. And
Right.
that's a testament to the people behind the show to be able to do that to you and make you feel for situations like things that are relatable, that are like, okay, something like this would never happen in real life, but I can still relate to that. You know what I mean? That takes talent to be able to do that. And it's, I'm really excited to see where the show goes from there too, actually. I mean, like, as a Vince Gilligan fan, Ray Seahorn fan, I'm very excited to see how it continues to grow. And I just encourage some of the people who say it's not like Breaking Bad, have an open mind. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's different. It's a totally different show, and it's not going to be like that. It'll be interesting to see, and maybe it's been published somewhere. Why they're in Albuquerque. And my guess is the reason they were in Albuquerque for Breaking Bad was because of tax breaks, right? So they got the production company got a lot of tax breaks to go film in Albuquerque. And so I wonder if that's the same reason why they're there still, or if there's other reasoning behind it, as to why they chose that location still. Or maybe they just like it. The funny thing was, X-Files was all in Vancouver, right? So all the
which
X-Files
Vince
stuff
Gilligan also wrote on.
right. Yeah, so maybe I'm like he's maybe moving to warmer climate as he gets older. He's like, yeah, let's look for some place that's not Vancouver to do our show.
He'll be in Miami next.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It'd be like we're in the Mediterranean somewhere.
He'll be working on
Exactly.
Dexter.
Yeah. It'd be like we gotta work this in my favor. Hawaii is calling. We have to do a show in Hawaii. But who knows? But these things come out, over time because you get to read about all the behind the scenes and everything about them after the fact. But we'll see what happens with this one. But I did find it interesting. I'm like, oh, I wonder why they picked Albuquerque again. I wonder if they still get tax breaks or what's the deal with that? I mean, it worked in its favor, right? So it worked really well for Breaking Bad. So.
Oh, amazing cinematography,
Yeah.
location
Yeah.
shots and everything. And also it's kind of like home for them. They spent well over a decade working there, Breaking Bad, and then of course on Saul, and then El
Right.
Camino too. So
Right.
it's like home for them, really. To me, it seems
And
like.
yeah. And so maybe that's the only reason, because I'm sure that because the actors have to be there. And so maybe they just set up that's their home base now and they like it there. So maybe that's all it took to say, yeah, we'll just do that. But
Might as well.
it'll all come out in the press in the future here. Although, kind of shifting gears a little bit, talking about press, this is the other thing I was thinking about ahead of talking to you was how much that has changed, right? In just over the last few years, and you yourself are part of this change. You maybe don't realize it or not, but you're the people who normally would have never gone on a podcast, let alone something that is a little more focused podcast. They're on all of them now. I've just noticed over time here. You see these. I can't remember. Woody Harrelson was on some show. I've never heard of this show. It's some podcast. He was on this podcast. I've never heard of. Didn't know the people involved with it or anything. It looked very, very local in nature. But there seems to be more and more of that going on, like yourself, right? So last time I think we talked, you had Howard on, and I'm blanking on his real name now.
Oh, Patrick Fabian.
Patrick Fabian on your show. And it's like, wow. So, but since then, that was a little bit of a wake up call for me to pay attention. And I'm looking around. I'm like, wow, look at all this. Look at all this. So the press is becoming a much broader term now than it used to be. You think of the press as being, this publication, that publication, this show, that show. That's not the case anymore. It's a huge spectrum of things. And I find it fantastic. But I also find it interesting because, these kind of things, they happen and then you realize, right? Just like I think we can announce it if it hasn't already been announced that broadcast television is dead because all the sports are on streaming now. And so for the longest time, only all sports were on broadcast television, not on streaming. But now I just paid attention through. Well, actually, Super Bowl was streaming last year, right? And then all through the holiday season, all these sporting events were on all these different platforms. Tubi had sporting events, and Amazon and everything did, right? Apple has their own, ins and sporting events. And so now, yeah, regular broadcast is dead. You could almost say print is dead. We are living in the future now. It's finally happened after all these years. The transition from all this old media to new media is finally complete. To me, the sad part is there's still a lot of old media involved in new media, but not as focused and not as cohesive as it used to be. You are the new media, Frankie.
Well, and I mean, everybody is slowly working on becoming podcasters and everything. Like, there's a lot of people now who have podcasts. There's lots of people who are maybe not doing podcasts, but they're booking guests and just doing interviews, like just on Facebook Reels and things like that. Everything counts as journalism and press and everything like that. And it's great to see, for sure, because there's lots of people out there who certainly have it in them that, given the right opportunity, they can shine at what they do. I mean, might not be any Barbara Walters type journalism, but I mean, it's journalism. Journalism is journalism,
Sure.
for sure.
But I find that so fascinating because I've been waiting so long for this to come to fruition. Having done this for a while, I'm like, yeah, this is the future of something, and it's taken a long time for this to be the future, but now it is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can't go back on it. Now the question becomes, what happens next? And so I'm always curious as to what happens next. So we'll have to see what does. I will tell you that another trend that applies to you directly is that Canadians are out front on this, right? So there's so many podcasts that are of Canadian origin. I'll put it that way. Canadians are doing them, right? So they're not because there's no borders or anything. They're not, housed, only, you only see them in Canada or something. But I encounter so many people as in my travels across the podcastosphere, or whatever you want to call it, that are Canadian. And so I think that that's interesting. It's almost, I don't know how, it's almost as if you you're born to do this in a way, right? So there's more Canadians who are much more articulate and determined, and are out there and doing these kind of things now than others, right? So kudos to that. And now you guys just have to band together, and you'll take over the world in this regard.
Yeah, and we slowly are. We slowly are. I mean, like, it's the world is evolving, and I'm happy to be part of this community. I'm happy to be in the same community as someone like you, who's been doing it for a long time now, since 1998. And back when a podcast wasn't even called a podcast, it was just one of those online radio shows type deals.
Right.
And made quite a name for yourself too, Bob. I mean, like, don't sell yourself short. You've done amazing stuff. You and Miles both, even though Miles, you say, isn't tech savvy at all.
No. He's become he is almost like the funny thing is he's almost like what people would say a millennial or a Gen Z is. He's very good with his phone, but he can't really use a computer, which is funny. But
well, there are people like that. There are people like that.
No,
like
it's a lot of like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that bizarre, having grown up with computers and always have been involved with doing something, right? And even my kids, one is my daughter could care less. She just likes her phone. She does everything on her phone. And then, my son's a little bit more, can, travel across devices a little bit more freely, and is not, tethered to one type of device. Right. So, yeah, it's just kind of interesting to me. I would have thought that would be the opposite. I would have thought that if you get to grow up with all this stuff, then you'd kind of be adept at everything. But that's just not the case. It's actually kind of reverted a little bit, to where you're very, you're almost siloed. I'm an iPhone person. I'm an Android person. And they can't operate outside of their silo very well, right? If you're an iPhone person and you hand them an Android, I don't know how to work this. They can get around and do stuff, but it's almost as if they're out of their element a little bit, which I don't know, is interesting to me because whatever. I use Linux, I use Apple, I use PC, whatever I have available and can get something done. That's what I'll end up piddling with, and working on. So, but yeah, that's not the case for everybody apparently. So.
Whatever gets the job done type deal.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'll figure it out. It's not overly, complicated typically. So yeah, no, but it's interesting that happens. That's happened that way. But no, I mean, more and more as I encounter, different shows and whatnot, and invariably they're like, oh yeah, I'm in Canada. I'm in, Calgary, I'm in Vancouver, whatever, Toronto. But yeah, I've encountered so many people from Canada. I always find it fascinating whenever I find that out because I'm like, oh, really? It's another. I should make a map and put pins on it or something, because there's so many. There's just so many, and it's like, and it's all, very. They're all very good quality, and a lot of them are doing them independently. And so, that's, to me, I always like to hear that kind of stuff. The conglomeration of things always is a bit of a kind of a turn off. I'm like, we don't need another conglomeration of things, right? So we need more people doing it on their own. Maybe they make a connection, which is good, but we don't need to have too many other fingers in the pie, as it were.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Exactly. But Bob, it's always a blast, man. It's always a blast chatting with you. And then I love every time we start chatting, and then I check the time. I'm like, oh my God, we've been going for like well over an hour, which is always a good thing. It's always a good thing that you're able to, we're never grasping at straws, finding stuff to talk about. We always end up shooting the shit. Thank you again, Bob, for coming on. I'm going to put the link, by the way, guys, in the episode description to Static Radio. Do you have any other social media, by the way, that people can follow you on or anything like that? Or you...
We're pretty much at Static Radio on all of the socials except for, I think, TikTok. So yeah, I mean, anything, whatever your variety is that you like, I'm sure we're there and you can pick up on it. Even Threads, believe it or not, at Static Radio on Threads. Which, does anybody use Threads really?
I don't really, honestly. I have it. I get notifications for it. The only time I go on is if I get a comment on a thread, but like my threads are just connected to my Instagram. So as soon as I post to my Instagram, it immediately goes to my threads. Right. So I'm just like, if somebody comments and makes an interesting comment, I'll go check it. But for the most part, I mean, it's just there. You know what I mean? It's just taking up storage.
There.
It's just taking up storage.
Sub Instagram is what it is.
Exactly. But Bob, thank you for joining me for episode 250. There's no better guest I could have on. All the other ones wouldn't answer my calls, so I'm like, I guess I'll get Bob again. No.
Good old backup. My backup here.
Yeah, Bob's always my plan B. No, I'm just kidding. Bob. Thank you again, man, for coming on.
Hey, I am happy to be your plan. I'll be honest with you. So you say that and we laugh, but the reality is, and this goes way back, because this is going to be way before you, Frank. I'm going to mention something that's really old and nobody's going to know the answer to this one. But So Johnny Carson, had a show, very popular show way back in the day, and he had people that would come on at a moment's notice, right? Like you mentioned, a Plan B person. So, like airplanes, air flights would get canceled and so forth. And he was out in California, and he had a list of people who literally, if somebody couldn't show up, he would say, "Hey, can you come by the studio this afternoon and do the show?" And they would do it. One of those people was, and has a connection to Vince Gilligan, oddly enough, Charles Nelson Riley, who was an old actor and director, and he lived in California, and he would come on and do the Carson show. He didn't have a project every time. He just would show up because somebody couldn't. And that's what I want to be. I want to be the Charles Nelson Riley of your show or anybody's show. I will be Plan B. I will be there for you if other people can't show up. I'm proud of that. And the connection to Vince Gilligan is Charles Nelson Riley was on the X-Files in a couple of episodes as a reporter, and I'm going to blank on his name, but his character name, but because he enjoyed him as an actor and as a character, and he was on a couple of 3, I think, episodes of the X-Files.
Isn't that something? It all ties back to what we were talking about with Pluribus and Breaking
Bad.
That's awesome.
So I'm anytime you need me, Frankie, last minute somebody drops out on you, I'm always, send me a note. If I can do it, I will do it. I'm happy to be your Plan B.
That's good. That's awesome. I will keep that in mind for the future. Thank you, Bob. And any other podcasters listening, just reach out to Bob if you're like, oh, well, I'm actually supposed to do an interview tomorrow, but the guest canceled. This is your guy.
I'm the guy. I'll talk about whatever. We'll talk about we'll talk about Pluribus. I don't care. Whatever.
Anything at all. Bob always has lots to talk about too. So, which is always great. Great stories, great coverage, all that stuff. Guys, thank you for tuning in to the episode or the 250th episode of the Corcoran Entertainment Show. After this interview with Bob, we're gonna do a little throwback interview to episode 4. Normally for these milestone episodes, I'll throw in a little throwback interview just to kind of see how the show has evolved, going from a shitty Staples microphone to the Shure microphones, which you see on all podcasts and YouTube channels nowadays. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Bob, for coming on. Thank you guys for listening. And until the next episode, this is Frankie and Bob signing off. Cheers, Bob.
Yeah, have a great one.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, again, Frankie Corcoran. Again, that doesn't change. And we are now joined by athlete Brett Himmelman, as I introduced him in the intro, RBC Olympian, 3-time medalist, you say, or?
Yeah, so I've won. Depends on the competition you're talking about. I've won 3 medals at Canada Games. I got 2 Canada Games records. I've also won a few international medals as a junior, and have won 31 medals at nationals. Unfortunately, most of them are silver. I'd like them to be gold, but at the same time, you take what you can get, and you always strive to be better. But
it's all I can do, man. That's all I can do.
Exactly.
So thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you coming on. It's an honor, really.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. It was great meeting you when I was up in Miramichi. God, that would have been 2 months ago now.
Yeah, 2 months ago. Yeah, no, time flies, man. It really does. And now
seriously does. It almost feels like yesterday some days, and it's kind of crazy how different kind of between the pandemic and everything else, it's has changed so much since then. No, it's great to be on the show. Thanks for having me on.
No, absolutely, man. And speaking of the pandemic, it's interesting because, of course, I'm starting a theater troupe, and it's really hard to do shows and stuff like that during a pandemic because, audience, indoor capacity, stuff like that. So how has sports been affected for you with the pandemic? It's certainly been a bit of a change, but I mean, compared to what theater has suffered, how's it been for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, feather I think has suffered more than sports substantially, really. Like, especially for me, since where I do is an outdoor sport, I was able to start training on the water before most sports. So, paddling got an exemption from the Nova Scotia government probably in around May 2020, where we were able to like paddle on the lakes and kind of do socially distanced organized training groups. But we were there almost a month before like hockey players could get back in the rinks, and like indoor sports could even be considered to happen. And I know theater's been affected greatly just because a lot of it is indoors in such close quarters. It makes it really difficult. But we've been pretty lucky in that sense that we're an outdoor sport, and when we're in our own individual boat, like you're never within 6 feet of anybody anyway. But the big thing that's been impacted for us has been competitions and training camps.
Okay.
Every single year since I was about 15 years old, we went down to Florida for a training camp. But with the border being closed and uncertainty there, we actually had to go out west of BC. So we actually did our training camp in the winter this year in British Columbia, which
Ooh.
which I mean, BC is a lot a lot warmer than anywhere else in this country, but we still also had the lakes freeze over us on us. Like we're there preparing for Olympic team trials in like our 2021 season, and we ended up having the lake freezing over. There was one day there was so much snow, we got 70 centimeters of snow in one night, and lake froze over. We couldn't paddle, and we ended up going sledding, which was supposed to be at our warm weather training camp.
Oh, well, there, not so warm.
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean, like we had a beautiful setup in British Columbia. Like the lake was amazing. I think it's still one of the most scenic places I paddled, like kind of like nestled in between like Mount Baldy and kind of the horizon. There is a nice big lake. It was like if you did a whole perimeter to lake, you were probably around 15 kilometers. But I'm very excited to be going to San Diego this year for my warm weather training camp. Going to be heading there on February 19th. So I'll be heading there to at least get a little bit more of a tan. I think this is probably the most I've looked like Casper the Ghost.
So how does that whole thing work? Do you got to self-isolate when you get there, or how is that whole? Because it's
No,
different everywhere.
so yeah, we don't need to self isolate when we're there. They're pretty wide open, actually. I mean, like we know how the U.S. is right now. Like they have very little restrictions compared to us. So when I get there, it's going to be probably the least restricted I've been since this whole pandemic started, really. So I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to that at some point in time, but at the same time, I'm still going to take the proper precautions because the last thing I need to do is get COVID and have to sit out for a week of training, or even worse, not be able to get back home to Canada afterwards.
No, absolutely. End up getting stuck there for God knows how long because the unpredictable nature of this whole thing. So speaking of traveling, tell us a little bit about your experiences because I mentioned in the intro that you went to Mexico, Germany, Romania. What were those experiences like?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate to be able to travel to some pretty cool countries already. So the my latest place where I was able to travel to was Romania for the Canoe Marathon World Championships, and it's an Eastern European country, and it's quite a crazy just to kind of look around, like the atmosphere and the environment, how different each country is. Like when we had our opening ceremonies for the event, we had it in the square in the city of Petsy, and you look around and almost like all the buildings are like Soviet Union era buildings, and like just the way they had the opening ceremony set up, I thought it was almost in like the Hunger Games is what it looked like, with like the stone brick buildings with like the flags and everything, like and it's like each country was like is so different. Like when I raced in Mexico, we were in a town where half the town didn't even have power
Oh, really?
in most of the buildings. So we were in southern Mexico in a place called Panico, which is in the Veracruz state, and we were paddling on a river, and just the event that was put on there was their first time ever hosting a big international paddling event like that. They even canceled school, I think, for 2 of the days, and they bussed all the kids in to go watch the races.
Oh, go away, eh?
yeah, it was like such a big deal for the local population. Just be like, oh my goodness, like Canadians are here in our town. But it was such a phenomenal place to kind of travel and explore to. And that for me was the first time where I really traveled somewhere completely new on my own. Like I wasn't there with my parents, like I was just there with my team and my coaches. And it was just it was a real like eye-opening experience. And I was like, wow, like our world is so vastly different depending on where you go. Like in 2018, I was on the World Cup team and I got to go to Hungary and Germany. So you do two competitions. You spend a week in Germany. You race on first one was Hungary, a week in Hungary. You race that weekend. Then at the end of the competition, you take a plane over to Germany. You're a week there, and then you race at the end of that week, and then you go home. But the contrast between Hungary and Germany was a really cool experience, because when I go to Hungary, everything, like it was like cobblestone roads, big churches, like a lot of history within their infrastructure there. But then when I go to Germany, like it's still like very like different, unique, like with the culture there. Like Hungary's a bit more Eastern European, but then Germany was much more modern. But you could still see like the history of Germany with like the buildings. And I think the race course in Germany, it was in Duisburg, Germany, which I think is on like the northwest kind of area of it. I think it's still the most beautiful race course that I've got to race in. Like big, beautiful trees overhanging on the race course, and just it was I think like the Hungary and Germany, like the Szeged, I forget the name of like what the whole kind of race course is called, but paddling's actually their national sport there.
Oh, okay.
So paddling in Hungary is like what hockey is for us in Canada.
It's like everything.
It's like that level of excitement, and that's why they always hold so many international events there. Like what I think is really, really cool about our sport of paddling is that you predominantly see a lot of countries on the podium that you might not see on the podium in other sports. Like you never see Hungary as like a superpower in any other sports really, other than paddling, where Hungary is probably one of the big three countries.
Wow. No, man, that's awesome though. Like, you've really been through it all. But tell me this, whenever you kind of look at like, what you've accomplished, I mean, like, of course, having gone to Hungary and Romania and all stuff like that, do you ever take a look or like look back on it and get like really overwhelmed at the thought of like, wow, like this is what I've done, this is where I am? Like, is it overwhelming? Do you get nervous?
I mean, you always kind of get nervous for what's ahead, because especially when whether you make a junior team, then it's like, all right, the next step I want to do is make a senior team. Or if you make a World Cup team, then you want to make the World Championship team. You make a World Championship team, you want to go to the Olympics. There's always like future goals that you always have kind of had in mind. Like for me, when I made the World Cup team, I was like, all right, like that's great. Like I made World Cups. I got to go to Europe for 2 weeks. I got to race. I got to wear the Canada jersey. It's a great experience. But next step I want to do is I want to be on the Canadian national team. I need to start getting paid for this. I need to get funding. I need to get carded. And then like there's one thing of just showing up and doing these races. There's another thing showing up and wanting to get a certain result.
No, absolutely.
So there's
many anxiety
always
attacks or
I mean, there's been times like I've honestly felt more anxious for our national races sometimes than some of the international races. Like when I was lining up for my marathon race in Romania, I didn't really have the big nerves in it. I was just like, all right, like I've got to this point, I'm confident in my training. I just have to go out there and perform and paddle the way I do. But then there's been other races, like national team tryouts and trials, when you're trying out for a team, and you just kind of think to yourself, like, especially in canoeing, there's so many external factors that whether it's the weather or the wind or like what lane there's so many things that you can kind of think about and get yourself stressed out about. I would be lying if I said that I still don't do this a little, but I used to be way worse for it. But I used to be checking the wind like 3-4 days in advance, being like, oh yes, I'm praying it's a right headwind, something that's a favorable wind for me, because like the difference, the difference between like if the wind's on your face and the wind's on your back can be a difference between 20-30 seconds on your race. And for someone like me, like I like the race to be as long as I can. I like a bit more time to think, and I've been working over the years to try and be a bit more explosive off the start. But I've been sometimes a notorious starter, kind of like a locomotive, where it takes me a little while to get up to speed. But once I get up to speed, I can power through and get going. But yeah, like it's just a lot of it is just kind of like, all right, like, the anxiety is going to be there. Like I know I can't completely eliminate the anxiety, like it's going to be there. It's just telling yourself that you can deal with this. This is nothing that you haven't faced before. Like what really could go wrong with what's going on, like you say, like, okay, if it's a non-favorable wind, for example, like you can either let this cripple your mental preparation, or you can say like, all right, this is what it is. I can't only focus on what I can control. Let's not focus on what I can't control, and just do everything in your power to try and be the best you can.
Absolutely, and take the good out of the bad. No, it's a really good way to be. And I mean, it's definitely a completely different ballgame, because I mean, like, you said you've been an athlete for or like, into sports and stuff like that since you were, like, what, how old did you?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much born as a hockey player. I think I was born with a hockey stick and skates on. My dad was a university hockey player. So hockey was kind of like I was came from a big hockey family, but then I started lacrosse when I was 8 years old too, just because all my friends in my neighborhood were all becoming lacrosse players, because we had like a local lacrosse coach that got like everybody in my friend group into it. I still play lacrosse now. I'm going to be playing some post-collegiate semi-pro lacrosse when I go to San Diego as well too. And then I just finished my last 5th year of at St. Mary's University lacrosse, which was a lot of fun. But for me, like being an athlete's always kind of been in my nature. And I think even when I'm done being an elite high performance athlete on like the international level, I think I'll still always be an athlete in some way, shape, or form, whether that's marathon running, which I completed a half marathon like this fall, the Blue Nose, which I was like, oh yeah, that was so much fun, I can do that again, until like 2 days later, and my knees are so sore. I'm like, wow, I never want to run ever again.
And then you just keep on doing it and keep on doing it. You're like, I can't stop.
Yeah, like... I think that's something that's just been ingrained in my DNA at this point. So I think I'll always be doing something, whether that's just still paddling at a national level for my club, or like playing on the senior lacrosse team, or running, or whatever it is. I think I'll always be doing something, but obviously I won't be able to be an elite high performance level athlete forever. Unlike pro hockey, paddling, there's no big Reebok sponsorships or Nike or big paychecks. So eventually you do have to kind of pay the bills itself, and gonna have to move on, like especially in our sport too. Like it's a 24/7, like pretty close to 365. You get about 3 weeks off in the fall, like every year, where it's just like, all right, you put the boat away, you kind of get to go enjoy, maybe you do a vacation or a trip, but really there's about 3 weeks in the whole year where you're not training.
Wow, that's great. And so like during like the off season, are you kind of like itching to get back at it? You're like part of you doesn't enjoy the vacation because you're like, I just want to get back to it, or is it more so like, this is nice, just a nice little break,
Yeah, so it really depends each year. Like I remember when I was younger, I was always itching to get back on the water. Like when I was 16, I would just finish off nationals, and I'd be because when I was younger, I was getting better year after year. I was just coming off of the high of ending the season at nationals. Like, oh, I want to get right on the water right away. Like I want to like just start getting ready for next year. Now as like a senior athlete, and I finished the year, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I got 3 weeks of vacation. That's so much time. What am I going to do with it? This year I took like 2 weeks after my season ended later than anybody else, because my last race date was October 1st.
Oh, okay.
Because the Marathon Canoe Championships was the very last competition of the season for for paddlers. So I ended up taking my 2 weeks off in November, and I thought it was really weird. It was like, oh, it's Thanksgiving, and then I was like, oh, I'm not paddling on Thanksgiving Monday. Like, what is this? This is so weird to me. This is like a foreign concept, because normally I get my 3 weeks in September, and it's just like, all right, like around Thanksgiving, it's just like, oh, I'm finishing my third hard week block. Like, I'm feeling really good, and I'm getting back on the water like after Thanksgiving. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm about to give birth to a turkey right now. I've eaten that much over the weekend.
No, there. So that party is itching to get back on, because you're like, okay, that was great. Now I got to work it all off. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
that's the worst part about these holidays.
For me, it's usually after about 10 days where I'm just like, all right, like I've laid around enough, like I've spent enough time on the beach or laying around or kind of doing my own thing. Like, all right, I'm ready. I got too much energy. I'm ready to start doing some runs, doing some paddles and stuff like that.
No, absolutely. And I mean, it's always good to just take time for yourself too. Cause I mean, like, it'd be like, oh no, someone like a carpenter or something like that. Yeah, I'm taking 2 weeks off. And then next thing you know, they're building a shed or something out in their backyard. It's like some of them don't know how to switch it off, but luckily you've been able to find that balance. So I mean, it's got to be hard though.
I'm
sometimes.
Slowly starting to learn where my off switch is.
No, there you go.
Yeah,
and I mean, part of it's a good thing, because it shows your dedication and how dedicated you are. But then it's also like, your family's like, hey, I never see you anymore. Yeah. So it's like, always going to make time for that. How are you with like balancing like your other activities and stuff like that? Because you're also a volunteer dog rescuer, right? With the Good Bones Dog Rescue. So how do you manage all that and your family between your sporting
Yeah, so I've done a lot like over the years. Like, one was I fostered dogs like over the years. So like I think I've had 7 foster dogs that I've had in my care before. It started when I was living with a bunch of my lacrosse teammates in the city, and the 5 of us all were looking after a dog at each other. And for one thing, that dog was always fed and it was always walked. But sometimes it might get a second breakfast or a second or third walk, just because I was like, oh, who walked the dog today? And I was like, oh, I did. And I was like, all right, well, the dog's been for 3 walks. The dog's going to be fine.
Yeah,
but I've also been a volunteer coach for the last 3 years as well. Or last 4 years for CPA hockey, which is high school hockey. I coached for 4 years, which there was always a fine balance. Like, especially with training camps where you're away for 2-3 months, you really do feel like you're missing a lot of stuff at home.
Oh, absolutely. And you would be too.
Like I'm away for my birthday like almost every single year, and like the last like couple of years I wasn't able to do that just because of the nature of the BC camp and 14-day isolations and all that stuff. But I used to always fly home for my birthday from Florida every single year.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
And I used to go home for like 5 or 6 days just to like from camp, just to kind of like rest, relax, like go see my friends, like get in a different environment. It can be really tough being in the same environment that's away from home. Like I found was something really hard for me being away at training camps is you never really feel fully settled. Like you're kind of like living like out of your suitcase kind of, and it's like, oh, you kind of like have like your room and your bed, but it's not your room and your bed, and like
because you can move at like any time kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's but for me, like the way I kind of see it is that like, all right, like I know what times I'm usually going to be home. Like I've been home for the fall, like almost every single year for like September, October. Like we get to spend a lot of time at home in the summers. I'm pretty fortunate too that our national team coach for the last few seasons is based out of Halifax and Dartmouth.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they're like fairly close to home. You know what I mean? You're not.
Yeah, exactly. So if, for example, if the national team coach was in Quebec or Ontario, I might need to go up to Ontario for camps more often than not, where a lot of our camps are going to be here in Nova Scotia, which is very important for me. Like I enjoy being home. Like I do enjoy like traveling, but at the same time too, like I like being settled at home. Like I like hanging out like with my friends and my family and everybody. Like that's something that's all just really important to me.
No, absolutely, and that's a really good mindset to have, because some people, like their mentality of like, I always got to be working, I always got to be doing something, and they're obsessed with work and can't shut it off. But then they don't realize that it's affecting their family, like like their wife who may never see them, or their daughter, or their son who may never see them. So it's really good to hear that you were able to find that balance, and you were able to like know when to shut it off and when to kind of take it easy.
Like sometimes it can be really hard to like not bring your like, for example, I used to be really notoriously bad. Like if I had a bad practice, I used to let it consume my night, because if I had a bad 4 p.m. practice, I'd just be trying to itch to get to that 7 a.m. practice the next day, just so I can try and put a good practice in my mind.
No, definitely.
It can be like pretty mentally straining. And I've really learned, like, especially over the last year and a half and over that BC camp, is that when your training's done for the day, like leave that mentality and mindset at home, because if you're constantly thinking about it, it's just going to keep draining you for the next day. And a big part of what I'm going to be doing with RBC right now is I'm going to be doing like a series of like burnout presentations for some of like the RBC groups and employees. And I'm like, right now I'm at the point where I'm at the end of a 4-week training cycle in the winter. And this is my first winter training cycle that I've had in the last 2 years, because we were away for the fall on the water the whole time, just to stay on the water, preparing for Olympic team trials and for the end of an Olympic cycle. So this is the first time where I've had like, okay, I'm home for a whole winter cycle. It's 4 weeks. I'm in the gym, I'm in the pool, I'm on the exercise bike, I'm running, rowing machine, like all that stuff. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to convince our coach to let us play pond hockey on a Saturday night. That's what we did Saturday morning, which is a good way to break it up. But like at the end of a 4-week cycle, like you wake up and you're like, oh my goodness, like I've done the same weight workout 8 times in the last month. I'm starting to get tired, like I'm starting to get more sore, and it all kind of accumulates up. But if you let it stay in your head mentally, once the practice and the day is over, you just feel like you never get to recover and never get yourself ready for the next day or the next workout, whenever that could be.
No, exactly. Like constantly like living in the past kind of thing, like always fixated on, oh crap, I made this mistake. And now like, it's, I'm ruined now kind of thing, like some people have that mindset. It's like, definitely don't let that, or like, someone playing basketball, oh crap, if I pass it to him, I could have won that game. Like, I mean, like, definitely like let the past be in the past, you know what I mean? And then
exactly.
Yeah.
And I've always been a naturally hypercritical person of myself. Like there's times where I could have the best race or the best workout of my life, and I'll be still fixating on like maybe the 1 or 2 things that didn't go wrong. Like
I did 20 push-ups. I could have did 30. Fuck.
Yeah. Like just I've learned a lot lately that you have to celebrate the little things.
Absolutely.
Like not all the big things are guaranteed, and you never know when the next time you might need it might be a while till you get to celebrate something. So like if you do great on an exam in school, or like you have like a really good time control in practice, like it's okay to enjoy it or be proud of yourself and be happy about that. And I think that's something that I've come to accept as of late.
No, absolutely. And one thing that really stuck out whenever I saw you at the Youth in Action event was the whole speech you gave about basically, I mean, like, no matter how hard things get, like never give up on your dreams and stuff like that. How long did it take you to get into that mindset where like, it's like, okay, I'm not here right now, but I mean, like, if I keep working, I'll get there kind of thing. Like, like some people, if they don't make their big break by a certain age, like, okay, that's it, I'm done. Or it like, like someone like Harrison Ford, he was a carpenter when he was like 30 or 40 years old. And then like, 10 years later, he's in Star Wars and Indiana Jones and stuff like that. How long did it take you to get in that mindset? Like, were you ever really like, oh crap, like, I'm not where I want to be. Like, I'm never going to get there.
Yeah, it's a really tough question to answer, because it's really different for everybody. And I think the big thing that kind of like hit me was when I looked at a lot of my older teammates and a lot of other like older successful athletes and realized that their paths weren't all linear either. Like when you're, especially in our sport, like where the more time you put on the water at a younger age, like the more improvements and gains you're going to make. Like from the year I started the sport in 2013 till about 2018, I got better year after year after year after year. And it was just, everything was just always going up. So like even when you had like a bad practice or a bad race, everything was still like on the upward trajectory. But when you become a senior athlete, it's a lot of up and down and left and rights. And it's not like you're not looking to try and drop 10 seconds off your time year after year. Sometimes you're just trying to gain like a half a second or a second edge year after year. And that can be a really hard thing to kind of accept, because as a senior athlete, like you're at the top of the top in your country. There's going to be ups and downs, and everybody is looking to be at the top of their game. Everybody's looking to try and be the best in that sense. And in 2018, that was a really polarizing year for me, because I had my biggest high where I made a World Cup team and I got to race on the world international stage for the first time. But then at the national team trials results that year, I also had two of my worst results at a national team trials. Like the year before in 2017, I ended up making 2A finals as a senior, but then in 2018, I didn't make any A final as a senior. And despite that, I was like at the high, like I went to Europe for the first time. I was at World Cups, but then I also had the low where I also tipped at a trials race that year too, where I fell out of my boat. So that was the first year where I was like, I felt like where I was on top of the world, and I also felt like I was in the lake, literally, in the sense of that word there.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. So it was really after that year where I had to realize that it was like, okay, first things first, I have to realize why I'm doing this. And the reason why I'm doing this is I enjoy the sport. I love being outside. I love the activity. I love the people around it. Once I kind of got back to the roots of that, then I realized, all right, like, let's go back to the basics of, okay, just the fundamentals of a canoe stroke. And I really got to work with a coach, Chum, who's a longtime canoe coach, coached anywhere between 3 or 4 Olympics. He's been around forever, but brought me back to the fundamentals of just taking canoe strokes off a dock. And every single day that Florida, I was taking canoe strokes off a dock, like just like in my canoe position, like you're not moving through the water. The paddle just moves really slow, just to work on just fundamental things. And I did that every single morning before I went out on the water every single day.
Wow. So like baby steps almost, like, you know what I mean? Like, slowly work your way.
Exactly. And like, especially after that past year, you can really dwell on what you didn't do. But if you have to just look at it as like, okay, I've done this before. I've shown that I can do this, and there's no reason why I can't go above and beyond that.
No, exactly. And I mean, like, definitely don't it's always great to have high expectations too. And then it's also like, it's good not to be overconfident, but you're also like, you know what I mean? Like, just because I'm here right now, it doesn't mean I have to stay this way. Like, like have reasonable, realistic expectations.
It's always good to try and reach for the stars, but the worst thing you can do while you're trying to reach for those is to put a ceiling on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. No, it's a great analogy. Actually, that's a really good, good way to put it.
You can't see the stars if you got a ceiling above you.
Yeah, exactly.
So once you've kind of removed your own ceiling, then that's when you can keep reaching.
No, exactly. Wow. No, that was very well said, actually. And that's that whole speech that you gave at the event was something that really, really stuck to me. Because I mean, like, I know lots of people, and I've even had it too, where I'm thinking, what am I doing with my life? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is this theater thing ever gonna be a big thing? But now I've kind of set some like realistic, reasonable expectations where, like, okay, might not be something on Broadway, you know what I mean? It's probably not going to be like that, but I mean, as long as I'm happy and I'm able to help people and keep them entertained, that's really all that matters in the end for me. And so that just really stood out to me.
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
Really,
and you like you hit the nail on the head there. Like you had the right mindset there, where like, okay, like everybody might have their, whether for you it's for Feather it's Broadway, like for me it'd be winning an Olympic gold medal. Like you always want to keep that in mind. You always want to keep that as your goal, but at the same time too, like you always have to have little things to work for along the way.
No, exactly.
Like you might be like 5, 8, 10 years away from Broadway. I might be like 5, 8 years away from an Olympic gold medal. You never know how far you might be towards your top ultimate main goal, and you might never actually get there. But if you set little goals along your way, you still feel like you're accomplishing something. You still got to be proud of the work you put in, win or lose, or like success or fail. You can't just be proud of the end result of everything you do.
No, exactly. It's
the end
not about the
result
journey, it's about the destination.
The end result is not always something you can control.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's not about the destination, the journey. I missaid that.
like this year, after nationals, I ended up having my best nationals result, but I ended up crushed and disappointed because I ended up not making a team that I wanted to make. And at that time, I couldn't even see that I had my best national result to date, where I closed the gap within the top guys. I was so just kind of fixated on, oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't make this team. I'm crushed. Like everything that I was trying to work for that summer, like didn't pan out. But but when I looked back and reflected on it, I was really proud of the work that I did that summer. I was really proud of the result that I put on hand, even though the end result might have not have been what I wanted.
No, exactly. And just just be proud of what you've accomplished. You know what I mean? Some people don't see that, but I mean, it's great to have someone like you with that mindset, you know what I mean? And through your experiences to never give up and to always just, appreciate what you have. Really. That's the way to put it.
Yeah. And it's not an easy thing to do. Like I'm in a pretty good mood today. Like it's January. I'm having a great training block so far. It can be really easy to be super positive and say keep pushing on, but at other points in times too, you might say like, I'm really exhausted. Like I might not be having like the best training week, or like I might be at the end of the block where I feel like I'm fading a bit. It can be really hard to stay in that positive mindset. But if you can kind of look at it from a micro perspective and a macro perspective, where you look like, all right, like today I was putting in some really good strokes, and for the last 2 months, like I've put in a really hard work, and I've done a lot of progress. Where sometimes the things in the middle where it's like, oh, I'm having a pretty rough week. If you look on, you just kind of break it, like maybe even just practice by practice or hour by hour. And then you kind of look at the whole big picture. You just try and draw positives from those.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Good out of the bad. That's the way, that's the old saying they always say. So yeah, wow, no, that's really amazing though. Really amazing, like how far you've come and how much effort you put into it. And you definitely still have lots more to come. I mean, hell, San Diego, like that's gonna be,
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm pretty excited. I get to spend 2 months, and I get to go to an actual warm weather training camp this year, not where I'm shoveling. I hope I never have to deal with snow in a warm weather training camp.
You don't even want to see a shovel again for the next 2 months.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it was always, as a kid, it was always, really hilarious where I would always go to Florida around beginning of February, and like especially here in Nova Scotia, it seems like we have like winter, December, January, we get fake spring, and then we get second winter again.
No, exactly.
And it just goes like, yeah, it was really funny. When I was a kid, I always had to have a shovel growing up. Like we always kind of shoveled the driveway. But that first year I went to Florida, a snowblower was purchased real quick.
Oh no, well there comes in handy for sure. Not that you want to use it, but I mean, like,
exactly.
That's it. So I was going to talk to you a little bit about your coaching, and this right here actually also moves into our first main topic for the show today, which was I wanted to we were going to dish a little bit on the whole Vin Diesel, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson situation. Not sure, have you heard much about that whole ordeal?
No, I don't really know too much about the background of those two. I mean, like I absolutely love The Rock in any movie he's kind of ever done. Like even if the movie is absolutely terrible, I still love watching him on any screen. The last movie I watched of his was Red Notice on Netflix there, which everyone said like, oh, it was kind of like a so-so movie, like, but I was like, all right, it's Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and The Rock Johnson. Like, what, the movie could be absolutely terrible, but those three are going to entertain on screen no matter what.
No, absolutely. Sometimes it's not, for some people, oh, this movie was terrible, but hey, The Rock was in it, so it was pretty good, like, But so yeah, the whole thing with Vin Diesel and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I guess it's been going on for years, where basically, I'm not really sure what exactly started, if it's their egos or if it's just, I don't know, the way they work together. But basically, so Fast and Furious 10 is going to be the last one of the series, and Dwayne Johnson, people call him franchise Viagra, where once he came on in Fast 5, that's when the whole series, skyrocketed. Like,
yeah,
and,
well,
and it was bigger
I'll
than ever.
admit, the first Fast and Furious movie I saw was the seventh one.
Oh, with the final Paul Walker one. Yeah.
So I saw the seventh one in theaters without actually ever seeing the previous 6 before that. And then when I saw the seventh, I was like, all right, like, yeah, like, I might not understand the full background information of it all, but I was like, all right, this is a pretty entertaining movie. And then I watched it from the start, and you could definitely tell from I've watched them all now, but you can tell from when The Rock joins the cast on, it's a complete tonal shift in the way.
Exactly. Like the first few are making 100 million, something like that. And then I think Furious 7 made well over $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's like one of the highest grossing films of all time.
Yeah, I know Vin Diesel is he's the star of that franchise. He's the face of that franchise. Like him and Paul Walker were from that first movie, and even though they're the ones that built it up from the ground, I don't think that franchise reaches the heights it would have without The Rock joining the cast.
No, exactly. So I mean,
it wouldn't have gained at least a mainstream audience the way it has.
No, exactly. So who knows? Is it a little bit of jealousy? It's kind of hard to say, if he's jealous of how popular The Rock is and how much he's helped the franchise, or if it's just, I don't know, maybe just some personal thing that we're not privy to, or.
Well, because I think if I remember correctly, the fourth movie didn't do as well critically or as well as they'd hoped for.
No, exactly. And I like the fourth one. I do like the fourth one a lot.
Yeah.
But
the fourth one was kind of the start to the shift from all right, this is just from girls and cars and street racing and all that stuff to kind of where it's kind of shifted to now, where let's be honest, those movies could have all sorts of craziness, whether it's heists or planes and
driving a car through a building, or
exactly. It's got they got everything you could possibly imagine, if with as much an unlimited budget as you can.
No, absolutely.
But that fifth movie was pretty essential to the franchise, because that was kind of the make or break movie, where if that fifth movie would have failed critically and at the box office, there probably would not have been 6, 7, 8, 9, which they've all been money makers at this point.
No, exactly. And so then some people would say, oh, why is Vin Diesel doing this? You know what I mean? Or why do they hate each other? Because, they need him, this and that but sometimes it's not always about business. It's always about your own mental state, and if it's just going to cause you all kinds of anxiety and stress. But Vin Diesel actually went on Instagram and basically put this big post, because Dwayne Johnson basically said, I'm not coming back, I wish you all the best, but this whole thing with Vin Diesel kind of had an effect on that. And so Vin Diesel basically went on Instagram, had this big post with him and The Rock saying, oh, we need you, this and that, my kids call you Uncle Dwayne, and we need to do this for Paul Walker, this and that. And then he responded by basically saying, no, that's just so manipulative, which I do kind of agree. I mean, he brought up Paul Walker, we need to finish this for Paul. It's come on, that's kind of manipulative. But I was going to ask, because you actually coached hockey, and did you coach lacrosse too, or was it just?
Yeah, I coached lacrosse. I'm actually going to be coaching my university lacrosse team that I played for the last 5 years. I'm going to be stepping on the bench this following September with the team, but I coached lacrosse at the U13, U14 level. I coached paddling for 7 years at the under 13, under 12 level, and then I coached high school hockey for 4 seasons as well too.
Oh, okay, right on. So I mean, you kind of have a good some experience dealing with maybe people who don't want to follow the rules. Have you dealt with a lot of that, or is it?
I mean, yeah. So the year of 2019, that was my first year being a senior coach on I was always kind of like a junior coach or like a 50-50 coach, all the way up through before that. But that was the first year where I was kind of totally in charge of my group. But then the club ended up giving me 119 kids
Oh, okay.
as a part of my group.
Wow.
So we had about every single different personality you could possibly imagine, from like kids who thought that they were the next god in the sport, even though they were only 12 years old, to kids who were just starting out, who were really shy and timid, to kids who absolutely hated water.
Wow. So it's like, why are you here kind of thing? You know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah.
doctor who will be scared of blood or something like that. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah, there was one time, like, this kid was a really, really nice kid, but he didn't know how to swim.
oh, so that's an issue there. Right off the bat.
Which is like, it's just like, yeah, like I can teach you how to paddle, but like I also can't, like, when I have 100 kids, you can't really, like, a kid who can't swim, you have to have your eye out them every single time they're on the water.
No,
Like,
exactly. And sometimes, I mean, like, you know, it's
and
hard.
all the kids wear life jackets, but like, if a kid tips in the water, like, you'll be able to identify them quickly, pick them up in their motorboat as a coach, get them back in, and hopefully send them on their way. But yeah, like, the kid who was didn't know how to swim was scared of water, and it's just, so it's like, all right, like, first of all, like, you can't blame the kid on that, but like, maybe the parents should have probably looked into the program a little bit more, being like, hey, like, 75% of this program is on the water.
Yeah, no, that's it. So like, kind of prepare.
Yeah, I've really learned how to deal with a lot of different situations, and also like how to react with different people. Like, there's some kids where you might need to actually like get a little bit mad at them just to kind of get their point across. And then there's other kids where you can't kind of react the same way to them, where you have to kind of take a more kind of gentle approach. Like, every kid responds to something different, whether it's at the high school level or if it's at like the 13-year-old age group level. Like, I always liked working with the 13-year-old age group because for me, like, they're old enough to be able to learn and to retain information, but then they're also still young enough that they still kind of respect authority a bit more than middle teenagers do.
No, exactly. And it's weird. Like, you know, you think the older kids would kind of be a little more responsible and would behave more. But I mean, for instance, like, I'm like, you know, like with this whole Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel thing, of course they make the franchise.
Exactly.
If you had two people like that on your hockey team who are just like, you know, like, one person doesn't want to come, oh, if he's joining the team, I'm not joining the team. What would you say to that? Like, would it be like, come on, guys, like, let's just do this together? Or would it be like, if it's a situation where it's just going to cause one player just massive stress and anxiety, like, where would you fall on that?
Yeah, well, like, for a hockey team, for example, like, if two guys are already on the team, you're not cutting one for the other, and that's something that you kind of have to drill into the players' heads right away. That is just like, neither of you are going anywhere. Like, unless one of you decides to quit the team on your own terms, like, he's not going anywhere, and he's not going, like, you two are going to be on the same team till the end of this season, no matter what it is. After the season, who knows what will happen, but till the end of the season, you guys are on the same team, and each of you, like, if they're on the team, they each bring something to the table that make the team better. Like, there's not going to be a situation where one guy doesn't deserve to be on the team because the other one says so. Like, they both bring something to the table, and you almost have to kind of either develop them to kind of look at it and see, like, okay, like, if the coaches think that we're more successful when the two of us are either on the same line or on the like the same team together, then there's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of times, like, when there's anger and emotion, that can really cloud the judgment. So a lot of it's all about timing too. Like right after a game, if it's like if it was an intense loss and like the two players might think that they lost because of each other, that's not the time to kind of address the situation, being like, hey guys, like you guys aren't working together. Like, what the hell? Like why aren't you guys doing this? You almost have to go, like, before a practice when things have kind of settled down, emotions are a little bit lower, like more of a relaxed state of mind, being like, hey, like, You two are obviously not working well together. We can either talk this out and try and work this through, but we also can't let this impact anybody else or let it impact yourselves.
No, definitely. And I mean, like, there's definitely two sides to every argument where, I mean, like, one player can be really, really good, but he's also causing a whole bunch of shit within the team. So then party is like, geez, like, do we kick him off, or do we keep him on because we kind of need him? Like, maybe everyone else on the team is good, but they're not as, but he's like the ultimate, Yeah. But yeah, so it definitely is a tricky situation. But then also you also look out for
with the Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson situation, like obviously it's a lot different because we're not just talking about like a Pee Wee or a Bantam hockey.
It's $1 billion franchise.
We're talking about a lot of money and a lot of vested interest at stake here.
Yeah, exactly.
But the two of them almost kind of have to say, like, okay, like, can we put our differences aside to either make another $1 billion movie, or if this is something that isn't going to be worked out, like how do we make this so this doesn't affect what we do next?
No, exactly. And I mean, like, I remember, I'm not sure if you remember, but a few years ago, there was this big thing with Tyrese Gibson, who plays Roman in the movies. There was this big thing with him and Dwayne Johnson where he basically went on social media and said, listen, if Dwayne Johnson comes back for this movie, I'm leaving, kind of thing. So there's also that. I mean, like, I'm not sure if The Rock's hard to work with, or people are just jealous of his success or whatever it is. But with that situation there, I mean, as much as I like Roman in the movies and Tyrese is a good actor, he's if you took him out, you wouldn't even know that he was gone, kind of thing. So I mean, in that situation,
some people take a really hard stance on some of that stuff, and it all depends on people and players and stuff. Like, I think we see a lot of this very prevalent in the NBA, where like players' voices and players' decisions they weigh a lot of impact because they have the power to do it.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's more closer to probably like a professional basketball franchise than a hockey team, because in a hockey team you have 20 guys. If you have one player that decides that he doesn't want to play for this team for whatever reason, there's still 19 other guys that like the team will still have success.
With or without him, kind of thing.
Yeah. Where we're seeing in whether it's a movie franchise or an NBA franchise, you take one of the best players off of an NBA team when the teams are only around 10 and like your starters play so much more minutes, it has a significant impact on the team. Where if you take out like a main cast member of a movie for a dispute or whatever reason, and they say, I'm done, I'm not shooting this movie, I'm not playing this role, well, it leaves the cast and the directors in a much tougher situation when you have like 6 star members of or a main core group of a cast, and one of them decides to leave. When they know how much power and influence they have, it makes their voice and their decision much more impactful.
No, definitely. And I mean, even with that Tyrese situation, I mean, people will be looking at that at a business perspective. They're like, okay, so Tyrese said he's not come back if Dwayne Dwayne returns. So who do we lose? Well, Dwayne Johnson, as we said, is franchise Viagra. So I mean, like, obviously from a business point of view, you're going to say, well, keep Dwayne Johnson, kind of thing. But so with this whole situation, I mean, like, if you were Vin Diesel or Dwayne The Rock, and you were in this dispute, whatever's going on, because I'm actually not even sure myself why they're mad at each other, if it's an ego thing or if it's just they just have 2 different personalities. Would you want to come back, or would you just say, like, yeah, there's a lot of money at stake, there's one more movie left, maybe I'll just do it?
I mean, at the end of the day, like, people are naturally like looking out for themselves and their own vested interest. If for me, for example, like if let's just say I'm Dwayne Johnson and I'm looking at this movie and it's like, all right, like, here's kind of the 2 options. Like, I can step aside and leave from this franchise, and whatever dispute or feud that I might have, I might not have to deal with it anymore. It might be resolved. I might be done with it. I take myself out of the situation. If that's what's better for me mentally, then that's just or for my lifestyle, for whatever it is, and that's the choice I make. But if I think that, okay, I can put this aside, I can still do this and get a big payout out of this, And if that's what I think is going to be better for me, at the end of the day, I think people are just going to do what's better for themselves in that situation, especially when their voice and their say has more power.
No, exactly. And I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about, like, money don't mean shit if you're not happy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if you're
exactly.
if you're miserable, then, like, why are why are we doing this? Like, not gonna. Of course, there's lots of money at stake here. I mean, like, you could make one movie or more money off this one movie than anybody would make in their entire lifetime. But at the end of the day, what's more important, your own well-being or your financial situation? It's definitely complicated, but I mean, like, as you said, it's always good to look out for yourself, and that's what most people would do nowadays. It's definitely, it might not be an easy decision, but it's ultimately the right one, in my opinion, anyway. But a question for you guys, the viewers, I'll put a poll up on our Spotify. What do you think? Do you think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Vin Diesel should resolve their feud, or should they just put aside their differences and make their last movie, or should it just be like, nope, just have Dwayne call it quits because mentally it's not healthy for him? Let us know on Spotify and maybe put on Instagram, whatever, and tell us your thoughts. So our last topic today is we talked a lot about sports for this one here, which is really good. But Brett you're also big on Spider-Man, eh? You're also really.
Yeah, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Like, for me, like, the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies were like some of my favorite movies growing up. My mom used to have, like, below our TV, it was a cabinet with just filled with old VHS films, and there was only a few that I actually owned myself. But the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man one and the Spider-Man 2, with the one where they introduced Alfred Molina and Doc Ock.
Oh, yes.
That was kind of the last VHSs that I had, because slowly after that it was kind of transitioning to DVD, and then next thing you know, it's Blu-ray and everything's streamed nowadays.
Nowadays it's like Paramount Plus and all this, like,
yeah,
Disney Plus.
The amount of different streaming sites right now, like,
I can't even keep
up
with
this pretty hilarious. I was watching Netflix yesterday, and it was like, oh, your plan's going up to $20.99 a month, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, if you have Netflix, you have Disney Plus, HBO, or Crave, or whatever it is. Like, the whole reason why these streaming channels were so popular off the start was because it was just like, oh, like, don't pay the big price for cable, whatever it is, like, just watch what you want to watch here, with like one or two channels. And the next thing we know, like, with all these streaming sites, if you have 3 or 4 of them, you're pretty much paying the same price of cable anyway.
No, exactly. So part is like, I mean, like, if I only watch one thing on cable, I'm not going to bother paying all this shit ton of money. If there's only one show I watch, I could very easily just go on Paramount Plus or Netflix or exactly. Disney Plus, like, and watch it.
I think eventually you're going to start seeing in the next, because as soon as, like, a new thing, like, where it's just like, okay, like, you see something on Crave that you really want to watch, you subscribe to it for a few months, and then you still keep that, and then you see something else, and then next thing you know, you check your bill and you're subscribed to 3-4 channels, and you realize, all right, what's on the chopping block here?
Yes, something's got to go. It's just a matter of what do you use the most and what do you not, but you said so for Spider-Man, you were real intrigued by the whole multiverse, which you saw No Way Home, I take it. Did you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think anybody who's wanted to see the movie now has seen the movie without the so I saw it on the day it came out. I normally don't take practice off for very many things. There's I'm very committed to showing up to practice day in, day out. I'll admit I took the afternoon off to make sure that I could go to that 3:30 showing of Spider-Man, that first one showing at Dartmouth Crossing, because there was no way in hell I was letting anybody, whether it be social media, someone texting me, just hearing it word of mouth, whatever it is, nobody was spoiling that movie for me.
No, God. It's a big deal when Brett Himmelman, RBC Olympian, and won all these, the very accomplished medalist, is ditching a practice to go see Spider-Man.
Taking one practice off to go. Yeah, I normally don't look like there's very few movies that I'll go to the theater and see and sit down and really take it all in. So get the snacks, all of it. Marvel movies for me are usually kind of the big ticket item that gets me to, especially now during the pandemic. Where it's just theaters have been closed for so long, and it was all right, the next time I'm going in the movie theater, as soon as they announced Spider-Man No Way Home, the date coming out, I was all right, that's the next time I'm stepping into a theater.
And it essentially saved the movie theaters too. And I mean, like, I even mentioned this in our intro, the last few episodes, we've always had some sort of conversation about Spider-Man. And so some people are saying, oh, you're talking about Spider-Man again. It's like, well, there's nothing really big in movies right now aside from Spider-Man.
It's the 6th highest grossing movie of all time. And
exactly.
A lot of theaters are still at half capacity.
No, exactly. Like that was something. I mean, like, as soon as I heard when it was coming out and all the restrictions and stuff of that, I said, "Oh, it's not making past $1 billion." And here we are. You know what I mean?
Like we're talking, it's making big money with all these obstacles against. And I mean, like I think it draws from so many different people. Like the original Tobey Maguire movies. Like that was kind of like the first that kind of changed superhero movies. That first Spider-Man movie, like. It was so different in a way that it was like, all right, like you had such an opposing villain in like William Dafoe played Green Goblin perfect in the original Spider-Man and in No Way Home. Like I think he was more terrifying in
No Way Home. Like I think if someone took a shot every time I praised Willem Dafoe in this movie, like I think nobody would have a liver left. Like, oh my God, just the dude. I even said too, I said, I want to see a Green Goblin movie now after this, after No Way Home. Willem Dafoe nailed it.
Yeah.
And so like you said too, you were interested in talking about like the multiverse. So of all the villains they brought back, which one were you the most excited to see? Was it Willem Dafoe or?
So I was, cause like I knew that the Green Goblin and Doc Ock were going to be in it for sure. Like it was awesome to see like all of them. I think for me, like really like just bringing Doc Ock back was just like, for me, he was a villain that was like, all right, like, yeah, he was a villain, but he was kind of like a relatable villain because he was a scientist working on his project, and it wasn't like he was trying to do like world domination or trying to like kill off a population of people or a planet or whatever it is. He was just simply trying to go for his dream, and he wasn't letting anybody stay in his way.
No, exactly. And then it was just kind of an unfortunate situation all around. And I really love that like Alfred Molina, I was going to say, I said, there's certain exceptions to a lot of villains where like, if you're rebooting it, just scrap the old and put in and cast it with something new. Alfred Molina would be one of those exceptions because I think that was just I think he absolutely nailed it.
It was really nice seeing a lot of these villains get a full circle, except with Green Goblin. Like he was the one who was purely nasty evil from the first movie.
It just carried on to this one.
Yeah, like playing the sympathetic father role and activating the glider to try and slice Tobey Maguire in half there. And then like at the end there it was like, wow, like that was it's truly evil villain. The one villain I would love to see again, and I think this is the only latest Spider-Man villain that even can be on the same level as Dafoe and Molina. That was Michael Keaton in Homecoming.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, Michael Keaton,
man. He's one that doesn't get talked about too much because he was in a one-off movie. Like he wasn't a part of the whole multiverse. He wasn't a part of the cinematic universe any more than he was just in that movie. Like I know in the post-credits scenes, he was talking with I think it was what was going to be the future Scorpion at some point in time.
Michael Mando, the actor, plays.
Yeah, and then Michael Keaton also is in Morbius too.
Yes, that's right too. So I mean, like,
I would love to see his character come back because he absolutely killed it as the Vulture.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
man. Like, it was so good.
Like it was like Homecoming was a little bit worried about being bogged because there were so many big picture things going on. Like Spider-Man's a friendly neighborhood hero, which is one of my favorite parts about him, is that like he's not someone who's just trying to help save the universe all the time. He's someone who's trying to keep someone from getting their purse robbed.
Yeah, exactly. And not be like, basically brought to Germany by Tony Stark.
Yeah,
to fight the war,
like when they brought back Spider-Man, I was a little bit worried that it was just like, all right, is it going to get bogged down too much by everything that's going on with the Infinity Stones and Iron Man and Thor and the whole universe? But they really cut out a niche by having just an amazing villain with Homecoming with Michael Keaton. He absolutely plays that role perfect as like, his daughter is dating Peter Parker, but like he's also villain by night, and it's like he also still has kind of the same motive as Alfred Molina. It's just like, all right, like he's not looking at destroying the world. He's just trying to make a living for himself. And
like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna kill Spider-Man now. Like this and that. Like he never starts off that way.
Yeah, he's a blue collar worker trying to feed his family, and then when he loses his contract, he finds a way to make ends meet.
No, exactly.
And then and they carry on with that, with kind of down that evil land, kind of the same way they did with Alfred Molina and Spider-Man 2.
No, absolutely. I'd say probably my favorite Michael Keaton moment from Homecoming was when he drops Peter and his daughter off at the dance, and he's like, "Oh, honey, you go on in. I'm gonna talk to Peter for a second." He basically just threatens him, like, "You enjoy, you give my daughter a good time, this and that, or I will kill you." It's just chills.
Oh yeah, like that scene gave me goosebumps when I saw that. I was just like, oh my, and like Michael Keaton plays it perfectly. But like it's you like. A lot of problem, especially with the early on Marvel villains, but you didn't really see the human side to it all.
No, exactly.
You really, because like he even gives Spider-Man a chance, being like, hey, like I'm not going to go put a bullet in your brain right now. Like I'm going to give you a second chance as a human. I'm not just speaking as a deranged, crazy villain. It's just like, all right, like you take my daughter to the dance and stuff, and I'm going to look a blind eye to this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, so it's definitely interesting though. I mean, like how they brought so many villains back, but then also forgot some of the good ones. You know what I mean? Like they could have brought him back in some way, shape, or form. And one that I would like to see would have been Amazing Spider-Man 2, Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin. Yes, what was your opinion on that?
Very underrated.
Absolutely. I was terrified. I was scared shitless when I first saw that movie in theaters.
I mean, I thought that like when that movie came out, like I thought that it was almost a little bit, well, when the Amazing Spider-Man came out, it was almost like a little bit too soon for a reboot from the Tobey Maguire series. And then when they brought back Green Goblin, I was like, all right, like you already had like the William Dafoe Green Goblin. You also had like New Goblin with James Franco in Spider-Man 3. Like this is a character that's already been like done 3 movies in the last 10 years.
How can I keep it fresh?
Yeah, but he had such a different approach to it that it was like, I wish we could have got to see more of it, because Amazing Man Spider-Man 2, I actually enjoyed that movie, but it was a mess of a movie.
Yeah. I mean, like it definitely did have problems, but I certainly do. I really, really like that movie.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable movie. They just needed to cut out maybe 1 or 2 like aspects of it.
Like Rhino.
Yeah, exactly. There was the Rhino was it just kind of seemed like, oh, we're throwing him in there for we promised Paul Giamatti this much money. We gotta throw him in there.
Exactly. Throw him a bone kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. like same with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3. Like I actually enjoyed that movie, but it just, they had too many pieces to the puzzle for one movie. Like they had Sandman, they had Venom, they had New Goblin in there. It was just kind of, and then like Peter dealing with the symbiote himself too.
No, exactly. There was so much at stake.
Too many pieces for a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. And that's what I thought the same thing of Amazing Spider-Man 2. But yeah, like I thought like the new Green Goblin in the reboot. I wish we could have got to see him at least one more time.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, like they had plans in Amazing Spider-Man 3, which got canceled. He was going to come back and he was going to be a like the main villain of that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that didn't pan out. So I was hoping we would have saw him again.
Yeah, just that movie ended up just not making as much money, and wasn't the newer movies wasn't as critically reviewed. Like when I watched those movies twice now, and when I watched them the first time, like I think I was comparing them too much to the original Tobey Maguire movies, which I absolutely loved.
Oh yeah, and it's hard to compete,
like,
you know.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is not the same. Like Andrew Garfield, I think was a great Spider-Man, just put into maybe not the best storylines, and like the first Amazing Spider-Man, I think was a great movie, but I just think the some of the timing was just kind of off with it.
Which is funny because that was actually my favorite Spider-Man movie before No Way Home, which a lot of people think like, wow, that was your favorite Spider-Man. Like, no, I'm in the minority. I love that one a lot. It was really, really.
I mean, I think when you kind of accept a little bit of the goofiness of the Lizard character itself.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, he wasn't the best. I mean, I certainly liked him a lot. I thought he was really good.
I liked him in No Way Home, and I liked him in the Amazing Spider-Man one. Like once you realize kind of how ridiculous the character is itself, and you kind of like, you almost kind of sometimes with certain movies you have to kind of almost like let the voice of reason kind of disappear a bit.
No, exactly.
Just kind of sit along and enjoy the ride.
No, and that's exactly it. So, I'll say to you, any of the villains that do you think we might see any more of them somewhere down the line, and who would you like to see again? And maybe like, I don't know.
With the I hate giving out way more spoilers, but I would like to see Venom done right.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was someone actually said that. Why didn't Topher Grace come back? I'm like, well, because did you see Spider-Man 3? Like,
yeah. I mean, I thought that he was just like he's a good actor, and like Venom is obviously a great screen character, but it just seemed like it was too rushed.
It was way too rushed. Like they could have done
almost
so
like
much.
Once the whole Sandman storyline and Ben's real killer was all sorted out, and dealing with James Franco knowing that Spider-Man, like it was Peter Parker who killed his father. Like Venom just seemed like it was an afterthought, where I think he really needed to be the center of the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I actually really enjoyed the new Tom Hardy Venom movie. I know it's got a kind of bit of mixed reviews, but like the character itself's pretty goofy. I haven't seen Let There Be Carnage yet.
I never saw it yet either. No,
I really
I'm dying to see
it,
that.
but I do like Woody Harrelson, and I saw the trailer for it, and it looks terrifying.
No, absolutely. And I mean, hey, if they can bring him back, because I mean, like, you know, it's Woody Harrelson, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we can work him in there somehow, you know what I mean? That'd be a really
like I would like to see the Venom character get proper screen justice with
versus Spider-Man. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
and it can't be like a second or a third character. They need to make a Spider-Man versus Venom movie.
No, definitely, almost like a Batman versus Superman, except to actually make it good.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say it right there. I know it's two different universes, but
They're just Batman versus Superman. Like I think the biggest problem with DCU movie, they try to be different from Marvel,
and then it just doesn't work.
Being a bit darker and like, but it just turned out being almost like too dark. It wasn't enjoyable, and too loud that you're kind of being like, what's going on?
Exactly. That's literally it. That's actually exactly it. So you say, we'd love to see Venom again. And I definitely agree with that. Hopefully they work something out. Well, I mean, No Way Home's end credit scene, that's a little, or the post-credit scene, that's something.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be really cool. I was very like hesitant about the No Way Home, because I was like, okay, you're bringing back so many characters, so many villains. Like, there's going to be a very fine line between this movie is going to be the greatest superhero movie of all time, or it could be a complete utter failure. Like there wasn't a lot of in the middle area between those two, and I was glad to see
balance it out perfectly though. Like it was very, very well done. So definitely, hopefully we get to see more of the multiverse. Well, actually we will. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I mean, saw the trailer for that. That's going to be a crazy movie.
I'm so excited for that. And this whole multiverse idea, I just can't wait to explore it some more. And so that will do it up for today's episode. I'd like to thank my guest, Brett Himmelman. Brett, where can people find you? Can they find you on social media anywhere?
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I appreciate it a lot. Like my social media channels are just Brett Himmelman. It's my name. It's Brett with 1 T. There's people that have known me for years, like even members of my family, like extended family, who've known me for almost 24 years, still spell my name with 2 T's on Christmas cards and stuff like that. I'm like,
I actually did on your contacts. I actually put it as 2 T's to start, and then I
know that's kind of the general way to spell it. The lame duck joke that I always say is that when my parents were when I was born, they could only afford 1 T for the birth certificate. So it's just Brett 1 T Himmelman. If anybody is wants to reach out, or I'm a friendly person, whether you want to talk about sports, or I could probably talk about Spider-Man for probably 3-4 hours too. Like I know my girlfriend's definitely heard me talk about it more than enough times, especially leading up to this movie. I was like, I am so excited for this. Like, look, there's this and that and that and that, and
she's just like, whatever. What does that mean?
She went to the movie with me, and she enjoyed it as much as I did. So.
Oh, well, that's good then. That's good. Bring us together.
Yeah.
So thank you guys very much for joining us today. Thank you again to Brett for coming on. Hope to have you again on sometime soon, maybe even in person one of these days again.
Definitely. I would love to make my way back I had a great time in Miramichi just for the couple of days that I was in there. Like, I wanted to make it up for some cross country skiing this winter, but with the latest pandemic kind of restrictions, all that, it kind of made a trip a bit tougher. But I heard there's some pretty good salmon fishing in the summer, so
no, feel free to come up. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean,
we'll
I definitely hope to be back for some sort of event or purpose, or even if it's just for my own sake.
No, well, there we go. Absolutely. No, there. So enjoy yourself. So stay tuned for next week's episode. We will have award-winning screenwriter Paul Petito and a good writer friend of mine. We are going to be discussing what are we going to be discussing? Oh yes, we're going to be discussing Don't Look Up on Netflix, and we will also be talking about the whole what are we talking about? Geez, I didn't even write that down. You'll see it on social media. I actually didn't mark it down. But Paul's great. He's going to be a great guest, and we're excited to have him on here. So thank you again to Brett, and
thank you very much for having me on.
For those of you watching the video version, you may have seen this screen here with a Gib. He's Gib, are you sleeping? I don't know if he's still sleeping or if he's our sound guy. There he is, right there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
There, a Gib's our tech man, so he's
All right, yeah. Thank you very much to both of you, and hope to stay in touch and see you guys soon.
All right, sounds good, man. Have a good one.